Sorry about that. So welcome to the Pascack Valley Regional School Board, Board of Education meeting on November 29th. There'll be 2 opportunities for members of the public to be able to present to the board. And with that being said, I'd like to call roll call.
Mr. Blundo. Here. Dr. Blundy.
Here.
Mr. Fronte. Mrs. Martin. Here. Ms. Molinelli.
Here.
Mr. Stankus.
Here.
Ms. Steffens.
Here.
Mrs. Varghese.
Here.
Mr. Weaver.
Here.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by mailing copies of said notice to the record, filing copies of said notice with the municipal clerks of Hillsdale, Montvale, Rivervale, and Woodcliff Lake, and publishing said notice in the record on May the 18th of 2021. And next we move on to routine matters. And so, Dr. Fishbein?
Sure. Each year, the district nominates teachers at both schools for certain awards. The Governor's Educator of the Year Award and the Educational Support Person of the Year, and finally the Princeton Prize for Distinguished Secondary Teaching. So last week, we were able to go visit those teachers and surprise them and let them know they were nominated. So this year's nominees are Pascack Valley for the Governor Educator of the Year, Real Drago, Spanish world language teacher, and the Educational Support Person of the Year, Diane Brown, the school nurse, and you know how hard the school nurse has been working for us. They work hard all the time, but it's very close. It's been real around. And then the Princeton Prize for Distinguished Secondary Teaching is Kristen Lindstrom. Some of you met her. She's the biology teacher and resident teacher. Sorry. And then this year's nominations for Pascack Hills. Jim Saltzman, science teacher, he's a coach and advisor, was the Governor's Educator of the Year Award nominee, as well as the Princeton Prize for Distinguished Secondary Teaching nominee. And then the Ed Specialist Professional of the Year, it was Brittany Poonen, who's the school psychologist here. So I know the board, we honor them at a board meeting later on the year with pictures and families and plaques, and we'll do that. But since this is all made public, I thought I'd bring it up tonight.
Great, thank you. Hillary, we are now up to the student reports. Would you like to provide us with an overview of the happenings at Pascack Hills High School?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hillary Siegel, and I will be presenting the Pascack Hills High School student report for the month of November. On November 11th through November 14th, the fall musical Songs for a New World took place. This was not your typical play, as it involved several different solos from the PVRHSD players, and it didn't have a linear plot. It was very special. It's for everybody to be back in person after a year of having virtual plays, and it was also very impressive to watch. Great job to the PVRHSD players. Additionally, 8th grade orientation happened on Thursday, November 18th. It was a night where the 8th graders and their parents could come to Pascack Hills in order to learn a little bit about the school, including tours of the high school and explanation of all the extracurriculars. Current students and administrators were there to help welcome the future underclassmen of Pascack Hills. The Teens Against Cancer Club will be selling Broncos shirts for St. Jude's until this Friday, December 3rd. Last year, TAC held the first annual fundraiser with these shirts, and they raised $1,500. They hope that this year they will be able to raise even more money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, so consider purchasing a shirt for a great cause. For co-curricular items, each year the Project Patterson Club hosts a toy drive for underprivileged kids in Patterson. The club started collecting earlier this year so that even more presents could be given, and they will be accepting donations until Friday, December 10th. There are wrap boxes in lots of different classrooms throughout the school, as well as in the hallways and the entryway. Last year, they collected over 1,300 toys, even through a pandemic, and hopefully we can give even more toys this year. Additionally, on November 9th and 10th, the Pascack Hills Trailblazer was given 3 awards and 1 honorable mention by the Garden State Scholastic Press Association. President of the GSSPA, Bill Rawson, announced the winners for the 2020-2021 school year, and the Trailblazer won 3rd place in broadcast features, 2nd place in breaking places, and 1st place in editorial cartooning. They also won an honorable mention in sports writing. Congratulations to the Trailblazer for all their hard work paying off. For academic awards, this Thursday, December 2nd, is the Celebration of Languages ceremony for Pascack Hills students who are being inducted into the National Honor Society for their language or who have earned the seal by literacy. It will take place in the Pascack Hills Auditorium at 7 p.m. And for the fun fact, last week the Teachers and Educational Service Professionals of the Year were announced, and from Pascack Hills, Mr. Saltman and Ms. Poonen were awarded respectively. For the joke of the day, what do you call an illegally parked frog?
An illegally parked
Frog.
frog. Ooh.
A toad. Thus concludes my report to the Board of Education.
Very good. Thank you, Hillary. Evan, happenings in Pascack Valley.
Good evening, I'm Evan Scalia. I'll be reporting on the Pascack Valley monthly report for November. For classrooms items, first, the Celebrate Languages ceremony will be held on Thursday, December 9th at 7 p.m. in the Pascack Valley Auditorium. Students will be recognized for earning the NJDOA, seal by literacy in 1 or more languages, and or being inducted into the Chinese, French, Italian, or Spanish National Honor Societies. This year, Pascack Valley students earned the NJDOE Seal of Biliteracy and Global Seal of Biliteracy in Chinese, French, Italian, Korean, and Spanish. We look forward to recognizing these outstanding achievements in the study of language. For the second item, the Garden State Scholastic Press Association announced that the Pascack Valley student publication earned 41 state awards, including first place honors in 10 categories. Photos by senior Matt Austin took first and second place in the photography and online photo gallery categories. The 30-plus articles among the publication's What's in a Name coverage package exploring Native American nicknames and mascots were also heavily awarded. The package as a whole took first for in-depth reporting. For more results, visit the article published last week on the publication's website. Finally, Pascack Valley's Tri-M Music Honor Society is excited to announce the first ever Winter Fest on Wednesday, December 1st at 7 p.m. in the school's cafeteria. The free event will feature various vocal and instrumental performances by current Tri-M members, as well as several talented students from our school. The society members are also preparing for their induction ceremony on December 20th, where 22 students will be inducted into the society. The culmination of these activities will be the Celebration of Music concert on December 21st at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. The night will include a variety of music performed by newly inducted members, a professional guest jazz trio, and Tri-M and Bro Squad alumni members. The annual holiday concert will be on Thursday, December 16th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Lastly, the choir will perform as a guest artist at the Orpheus Men's Club Holiday Concert on December 18th and December 19th. The concert will take place at the First Presbyterian Church in Ridgewood. For co-curricular items, PV Theater presented their fall play, the live stage premiere of the comedy Night Night Roger Roger by Ronnie Ragoon, to enthusiastic audiences. This play marked the 4th time in the past 10 years that Pascack Valley has produced the New Jersey premiere of a play. The playwright was in residency for show weekend, offering post-show talkbacks with audiences and doing a workshop about playwriting with the cast and crew. Second, the Pascack Valley NHS compiled 12 full Thanksgiving meals for local families this Thanksgiving. Special thanks to the generous donations of food and funds from our PV family of students, faculty, and staff, the Interact Club, Kings, and Wegmans. Finally, the PV Network and Interact Clubs at Pascack Valley are holding their annual toy drive for the children living at the Battered Women's Shelter at Center for Hope and Safety in Bergen County. In addition to the children living at the shelter, the organization supplies toys to past residents and their children. There are collection boxes in the lobby at PV. Thank you in advance for your generosity and kindness. For athletic items, congratulations to all Pascack Valley fall coaches, athletes, families for a truly remarkable season. Every single fall team had a successful season, with teams qualifying and advancing in states in their respective tournaments. The capstone of the season was the boys soccer team winning the North 1 Group 3 state sectional title for the first time in school history. This historical PV fall season will be one for the record books and remembered for years to come. For the second and final point, the winter athletic season officially began over the past 2 weeks. Good luck to all the athletes and coaches with the new season. For a fun fact, Pascack Valley held its second Valley Cup assembly outside on the turf field on 11/24. Each grade competed in activities including tug of war and speedball. Grades even chased a turkey around the track as Coach Dudilla wore a turkey costume with students running after him. Currently, the seniors have a narrow Valley Cup lead over the juniors, with the sophomores and freshmen right behind them. The school looks forward to more Valley Cup activities in the upcoming weeks. And for the joke, what does a turkey eat for dessert?
These are good ones.
Peach gobbler.
Peach gobbler. Nicely done. Evan, thank you. We're moving on to one agenda item for the minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Blundo?
Yes.
Dr. Blundy?
Yes, except I'm going to abstain for the executive meeting.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Molinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens? Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Very good. Moving on to presentations for this evening. We have the school climate survey. Dr. Russo?
Well, it's going to combine in with the board and district goals, so go ahead.
Put it all together? Very
Yep.
good. And Dr. Backenheimer?
Yep.
Is this one on? There we go.
Yep.
Good evening. So we're happy to be here today to give a status report on our district goals. As you are aware, there are 4 of them. And tonight, to speak to you about each of the 4, we have the leads on each of those goals who are going to speak to you about each component this evening. To speak to goal number 1 is going to be Dr. Sean Strunsis, our supervisor of guidance, and Ms. Alyssa Merritt, who's our regional instruction and curriculum coordinator, to speak about our regional wellness goal.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alyssa Merritt. As Dr. Backenheimer has shared with you, I'm the Regional Instruction and Curriculum Coordinator. So part of my role in our Regional Wellness Initiative is to work with the K-8 sending districts that send to Pascack Hills and Pascack Valley. A large portion of my work is spent supporting each individual district on implementing their own social and emotional learning plans and supporting their teachers and staff in making sure their students have the best experience that they can. An additional piece of that is a monthly communication that I have with all of the staff K-12. I share different wellness opportunities for physical health, mental and emotional health. I also created like an instructional wellness piece to talk about some of that social emotional learning. We have opportunities for regional discussions with teachers. And then another portion of the wellness goal is some work with our wonderful wellness team with Dr. Strunsis. And our intention is to offer parent support groups for students in grades K through 12 with the support of the wellness teams at each building. So that's still in the planning process, so stay tuned for more information on that. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Strunsis to share the rest of the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see everyone again. In addition to what Ms. Merritt has shared, several additional initiatives that are going on right now is myself and the members of the counseling team here at the high school have met with the middle school counselors. We have articulation meetings quarterly throughout the course of the year where we discuss a number of items. Specifically this year, all focused on wellness, our observations, resources, programs, and services that we all share, that we articulate, and we discuss what's working, what's not working. Okay, and most importantly, in terms of program and servicing, in January, we're very pleased to announce that both high schools, Hills and Valley, we'll be offering the Challenge Day program to all of our freshmen. We've invited our middle school counterparts, the school counselors, to join us on that afternoon during those 4 days, 2 days at Hills, 2 days at Valley, to join us to participate and to see what that program is like. And certainly it's something they may want to consider bringing to the middle schools as well. In addition, the supervisors of instruction in each department have engaged with their peers, with their staff members, to discuss student wellness and solicit insight into what they're seeing in their classrooms and how we can use that information and that feedback for future planning, not only in the counseling office, but certainly throughout, of course, the entire 9 through 12 landscape. And also the Wellness Committee sent staff a questionnaire to gain feedback on staff wellness, and we'll be using that information and that feedback throughout the course of the year in terms of programming and planning. So those are just some of the initial things that we've done thus far in the first couple of months of the school year as it pertains to our district goal of student wellness and working with the K-8s and certainly here at the high school level. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Backenheimer right now again.
Thank you. So as Dr. Struncher shared, we're only 25% of the way through our school year. So this is simply a status report on where we are so far in undergoing each of our district goals. Goal number 2 speaks to metrics and data acquisitions to measure how each of our academic departments are doing in relative to students achieving New Jersey State student learning standards. So we've had a couple of professional development days. We have another one that's coming up a week from today. And so just to give you a brief rundown on what each of the different departments are doing. World Language has a strong focus this year on literacy with a specific area of presentational writing and portfolios. Ms. Rodriguez is working incredibly closely with her ELA counterparts to work on the language and acquisition skills that they're also using in ELA classes. So students are learning their target languages using the same strategies that we're using to teach students English. So whether it's writing in portfolios and notebooks, whether it's using open-ended writing prompts, as well as their listening and speaking skills, the ultimate goal there is to continue to measure how well students are doing in the acquisition of a second language. In English, we continue to use reading comprehensive and grammar assessments, specifically 2 tools. One is called IXL, which is an online assessment tool, and Common Lit Assessments, another online assessment tool that also has some hard copy pieces. Students have been assessed so far to gain some background knowledge with where students are at this far into the school year, and will continue to be assessed at the midpoint and 3/4 mark and adjust instruction accordingly. For math, benchmarks assessments have been created for Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. The questions that have been asked are based upon both our New Jersey Student Learning Standards and also giving students questions that they might see on the various New Jersey State assessments, as well as assessments that they might take for college admissions. And math continues to develop these as part of their professional development goals. In science, they started with biology, as that's a course that most of our freshmen tend to take, and they're utilizing there a phenomena-based assessment that, again, is using the types of questions that students will see for the next generation science standards and for the new NJGPA assessment, which will be testing science standards as well. And then lastly, social studies, looking at skills and opportunities in these 6 social studies embedded skills. Social studies is a little bit different than the other subjects. In that it's not that you're measuring one specific thing like knowledge of a math concept. Instead, you're looking at areas that are listed here, such as primary source evidence, historical significance, causes and consequence, really deep thinking conversations that go with social studies. So each of our academic supervisors have developed up these metrics to really look at how are our students doing and how are our departments and schools doing vis-a-vis acquirable skills that we want our students to have. So the process is underway, and as we continue with our status reports in this throughout the year, we'll be able to come to both the board and the public with information on how we did after year 1 and continue to compare that year to year as we go through. I'm now going to turn this over to goal 3 to Mr. Orlak, who's going to talk about real-world learning and our civics program.
Thank you, Dr. Backenheimer. So before you have what my staff affectionately calls the Orlakian umbrella. So it's not just social studies, it's business, it's internship. So it may seem a little disjointed, but understand it all comes back to the most important thing, which is the kids, right? So there's 4 sub-goals of this particular goal. Real-world learning and special education, our internship expansion within the CAP environment, possible hybrid online classroom opportunities for students, and civics. So let me break down each of these briefly. So for students, special education students, we have introduced and begun to highlight the importance of real-world learning skills to each of our pull-out special education classes. Professional development, the 2 professional development days, as well as the one that we have on Monday. Teachers are sharing information and successes. Job shadowing lessons for those students who are involved in job shadowing, as well as the internship program. We are looking at answering one question. What have we learned today, and how can we use that knowledge in our life outside of that particular work environment? So those are transition education classes specifically. And again, for the new board members, the 15 skills that we're talking about, these professional skills known as soft skills back in 10 years ago or so. This is what we're trying to, Tammy's laughing. That's right. So, we're really trying to expose our students to those opportunities as they go out into the real world environment and start looking at a career. Secondly, our CAPS program, we're really the tip of the spear when it comes to this, and not just in Bergen County, not just in New Jersey, but the nation. And we've been tasked by CAPS to use our experience and to onboard other internship programs throughout the country. So our program, we've partnered with Northeastern through CAPS to develop durable skills as an expansion on the professional skills, and really to share the successes that we have within our program with those other units throughout the country. Next, our business department is going through an evaluation year. We have to ask the question, how can we service more students as they move into college and/or career, as they leave Pascack Valley and Pascack Hills? So this is the focus for our business teachers, as well as our social studies teachers who are assigned to the business department. For example, our blended financial literacy program, which is we're running our 3rd year, has seen great successes. We're looking to possibly offer more courses that are outside the normal schedule, including in the summer. We're looking possibly to expand that program from 2 sections this past summer to 3. So giving students the opportunity to complete this graduation requirement outside of the normal school day. And along with that, what other dual enrollment possibilities can we offer our students, such as accounting and sports management? So we're looking at other schools that are engaged in programs that offer dual enrollment. And then finally, something that's close to my heart, an expansion of civics. As I reported over the summer during the board retreat, the Social Studies Standard 6.3 has been expanded, really focusing on active citizenship. So our ongoing goal, Dr. Fishbein calls it an evergreen goal because it doesn't ever go away. Our ongoing goal is to provide tools about civics and civic engagement across all grade levels, and then provide opportunities for students to do something about it. Our mantra is concepts, transferability, and action. Our 9th grade civics students, or 9th grade social studies students, are exposed to civic and knowledge through the world history curriculum. Our 10th grade students are exposed to civics through planned speakers and observing meetings like this one here. For those board members who remember Jeff Steinfeld and Larry Meyerson, the old Jeff and Larry show, they're coming back to Pascack Valley and Pascack Hills to share their experience as lawyers, as they're, through immigration or civil rights, as well as criminal justice. And our own Joe Blundo, Trustee Blundo, will be speaking to students at Pascack Valley about the role of Board of Education and the role of politics within that element. So, side note, I would love for someone from Woodcliff Lake or Montvale to speak to our students here at Hills. So please reach out to me. Great, perfect. So reach out to me directly or through the superintendent. I guess that's more appropriate, and we'll set up a time to have that discussion. Students in the 11th grade, tied to progressive unit, looking at real-world problems that have historical background. And then finally, senior year, we're looking at our expansion of the SUPA program, the Syracuse University Public Affairs course, where students take action and deal with stakeholders on particular issues to get what they feel is important done. So teachers have identified skills and opportunities for goals based on their level, and will continue to do so throughout the year. So I will pass this over to Dr. Russo for the final presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orlak, and thank you to the board for having me this evening. I'd like to provide a brief update related to the district equity and inclusivity goal. The Student Equity Leadership Team is exploring resources from the Anti-Defamation League, and in particular, the possibility of becoming no place for hate schools. We are partnering with the New Jersey Consortia for Excellence Through Equity and inviting teachers to optionally attend virtual workshops throughout the year. We've also connected with the student publications at each school and are hoping to partner on a series that highlights the stories of different members of our communities. Finally, in our ongoing commitment to making data-driven decisions, we're planning to move forward with the implementation, analysis, and presentation of a new school climate survey. I'd like to take just a few minutes to discuss the past 3 iterations of the school climate survey and to share a path forward that I believe will give us useful information about how to improve school culture and climate, but in a way that is responsive to the lessons learned over the past several years. Pascack Valley and Pascack Hills have been administering a school climate survey as a component of both the state HIB requirements and the board-approved comprehensive equity plan. But 3 years ago, we made the decision to utilize a different survey instrument that had undergone psychometric testing with the hope of having results that were both valid and reliable. Consequently, we made the decision to use the U.S. Department of Education School Climate Survey, an instrument developed during the previous 2 administrations. The ED-SCLS offered us a valid, reliable instrument, as well as robust aggregated and disaggregated data. At the same time, some of the questions were a bit dated, and while the platform enabled us to manage data effectively and safely, it was not the easiest to navigate. Taking these things into consideration, as well as the fact that we now have 3 years of data from the ED-SCLS survey, we decided to reevaluate the survey we think would be the most useful to our schools. Over the past several months, we took a look at 3 surveys: the U.S. Department of Education School Climate Survey, the final year of a pilot of the New Jersey School Climate Improvement Survey, which was developed through a collaboration between Rutgers University and the New Jersey Department of Education, and the Panorama School Climate Survey, created by Panorama Education. Members of the student equity team analyzed the surveys, taking into account the available data, presentation, validity reliability, data security, cost, support, ease of use, number of languages, and of course, the questions themselves. And after consultation with the administrative team, we would like to move forward with the New Jersey School Climate Improvement Survey. The NJSCI maintains many of the strengths of the U.S. Department of Education survey, including validity and reliability, data security, and cost, but also improves on it in our view with its ease of use, less dated language, data presentation, disaggregated item-level data, longitudinal data, and support. The representative from Rutgers University has been incredibly responsive, both by expressing a willingness to make sure the survey is translated into languages that are commonly spoken at homes in our community, and assuring us that the survey was developed with knowledge of both current and anticipated local and state board policies in mind. Our intention then is to administer the NJSCI survey to students in late January, early February in phys ed classes. Similarly, a link will be given to parents and teachers, and while all stakeholders will be encouraged to complete the survey will, of course, be optional. After the survey window has closed, faculty and students from the student equity team will analyze the data and report out to the administrative team, as well as the Board of Education at a meeting sometime in the spring. Finally, information about the school climate survey will be posted on our website, and this page will include a brief overview of the survey, a link to the questions, and information on data security. Thank you so much for your time and for your support as we look to use data to make more informed decisions about improving school culture and climate for all students and groups of students. I'll now turn it back over to Dr. Backenheimer.
Could I just ask a quick question on what psychometric testing actually is?
Yeah, it's the statistical testing to make sure that the questions are actually assessing what the questions were designed to assess, and whether multiple questions are giving us the same picture about what, like questions aren't contradicting each other. So there would be multiple questions that are trying to assess the same thing, and if there's conflict in those responses, there would be some sort of concern about the questions themselves. So actually the statistical analysis is above my pay grade, but there are psychometric reports for these surveys that are developed in this way.
So I guess the better question is if they did this psychometric testing and they shifted the actual test questions, is that a fair statement? I mean, when we look at the history of this test, can we even compare apples to apples, or the prior test before the psychometric testing was measuring different things?
No, so the psychometric testing takes place during the years that the surveys are being developed, to my knowledge.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
great.
So just a quick idea here or thought. So then the surveys would be updated possibly year by year to reflect more accurate language as you went on? Because if they're collecting data to improve the survey, is that what I'm to understand?
So you're talking about the New Jersey School Climate Survey?
Right.
So the New Jersey survey has been taking place for several years. It's been undergoing field testing. This upcoming year is the final year of that field test before it's open to all schools in the state. Could they make an adjustment if they saw that it was necessary? I assume that they could. But they also, again, I can't speak to the statistical analysis here, but my understanding is that in order to provide longitudinal data that's useful, they would only make those changes if necessary. That's my understanding, at least.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, before we move on to the board goals with Dr. Fishbein, just seeing if there's any other questions about the previous 4 district goals.
I don't have a question, but I was here listening like we all were, and very impressed with the presentation. I heard things that over the years the board and the public have been concerned about incorporated into each one of those 4 presentations, and that was very satisfying to me to hear, because in years past sometimes we would make comments and maybe we'd never see anything. No direct reflection on anybody. But what I really saw and heard today was an absolute direct correlation to what both the public and the board has been saying for the last year and a half, and implementing it into your actions. And I want to compliment you all for that, particularly all of them, all 4, but particularly with the wellness and the inclusion of the middle school. For those of us that have been around for a while, maybe you weren't around, but you probably saw it. A lot of our issues were coming pretty fresh out of 8th grade. And we were saying, and you were saying, that we really need to get in there before they get here and be consistent with our approach and get involved. And I was very pleased to hear the very specific things you're doing to do that, to achieve that goal. So from my perspective, great job, all 4 goals.
Thank you.
All right,
You're up.
so the district goals.
Is your-
The district goals. So the first goal has to do is develop and implement a process for a search to hire a new superintendent. And later on in the evening, we'll continue with this. But we have started it. We've developed an RFP. We've interviewed a search firm, and we hired a search firm, and they'll be working with us tonight to start the process of developing how we want to engage the community. So we're well on our way as far as that goal is concerned. The second goal has to do with the board receiving training in the area of school finance, and like clockwork, Yas has been putting together presentations concerning school finance. So the first one happened in October, where we learned about the bills list and budget transfers. And then Mrs. Kirk, our assistant BA, went over the treasurer's and board secretary's reports at the prior meeting in November. And then in December, we'll have our district audit, and our auditor will be here to present it to us, but also to go through it in a little bit more detail, so there's a full understanding of what it means for the district to be audited. Okay? And those are our 2 goals, and we're well on our way to achieve them.
Very good. Are there any questions?
I do want to thank the administrators for coming tonight
Yeah.
and presenting on the district goals. Like students, when we give awards to them and their portion is done, they usually leave. So I leave that open to you. There's no reason to stay, and you're welcome to leave. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to comments from the public. Is there anyone who would like to present to the Board of Education this evening? Okay, seeing none, we move right on to policy. Tonight, we have one agenda item, the safe reopening plan for schools. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Very good. So I would open up for comments. I would like to say that I reviewed it, and it's pretty comprehensive. I was involved in it from the very beginning, and they've taken kind of this whole chaos and just lock, stock, and barrel, jumped in, and Jim has been actively participating on that. And I think we should be really proud of the work that's been done. This plan's very comprehensive. It meets all of the requirements from the Department of Education, and it goes way beyond that. So just my thoughts on the topic. Anybody have additional comments on that? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes.
Dr. Blundy.
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Molinelli.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Moving on to education, there are 4 consent agenda items this evening. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Very
Second.
good. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes.
Dr. Blundy.
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Molinelli.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Human Resources has 4 consent agenda items. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Very good. Any comments? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes.
Dr. Blundy.
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Molinelli.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Finance, tonight we have 8 consent agenda items. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
I would like to continue to thank all of the organizations that sponsor and support our schools, and especially in Sarah Supermarket with the robotics program. I think that's very generous.
Yeah. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Blundo.
Yes.
Dr. Blundy.
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Molinelli.
Yes.
Mr. Stankus.
Yes.
Ms. Steffens.
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to old business. Is there any old business this evening? Okay, seeing none, we move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business this evening? Very good. We now enter into the second opportunity for comments from the public. Okay, and seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion to move into executive session, where we will be having a presentation from the organization who will be helping us with the superintendent search this evening, which qualifies under the Open Public Meetings Act to go into executive session. So may I have a motion? And HIB. Yeah.
So moved.
Second. Okay, very good. We are now entering into executive session, which means that we are good to go with that. Okay, perfect.